I could have your attention here in the deadline room, we will go and continue on with our Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. And we're joined by none other than Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 78 Furniture Row Denver Mattress Toyota for Furniture Row Racing. Now, Martin, heading into Pocono here, leads the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series in a myriad of categories. Points, you're 9 points ahead in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series standings. You lead the series in stage wins, playoff points, average running position, driver rating, fastest laps run, and laps led. And you're tied with Keselowski for top 10s. Huh. Now you're coming to Pocono, where you've had some good success. Won here in 2015, big win for you. How confident are you coming into this weekend?
Well, I definitely have some confidence coming here to Pocono. It's been a really good track for us the last few years, and last year we had a couple really strong cars here, and if I remember right, we had a lug nut knock the inner valve stem off both races. So had a little bit of bad luck here, but we had really fast cars, and excited to come back. So I love coming up here. It's really close to where I grew up, and it's kind of a second or a third home track if you could have three. So it's always fun to come up here. We've got some good friends up here, and I enjoy the area. So that coupled with a racetrack that's been good to us makes it fun, and definitely looking forward to having a good weekend.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have questions for Martin, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start here with Holly, and then we'll go to Zach.
Looking at the race winners this year, and a couple of you guys have won multiple races, and then we've kind of had new winners come in. Feel like things are a little bit off? I mean, you wouldn't necessarily expect, Kevin Harvick maybe not to have a win, or the Gibbs guys. How do you kind of look at that?
Well, it's definitely been interesting. I mean, I honestly don't pay a ton of attention to what other guys are doing. We kind of try to focus on our own deal, and we feel like there's been a few weeks where we probably gave them away or kind of missed out on opportunities to win. But it's been neat to see some new winners. It's been interesting to see some of the guys that we all expect to win, that typically win by this time of the year, not win yet. So, I mean, some of that's just the way racing plays out and the way things go. I still think, some of the guys who haven't won have been running really strong and been consistent. So, there's still a lot of racing to go before the playoffs start. So, I wouldn't get too caught up in it.
We'll go Zach, then DeClaire, then Joseph, then Reed.
Zach, Zach Sterniel with Pocono Record. Obviously, you've been running well all season long. Is there anything in particular that's been standing out to you that's allowed you guys to have the success you've had, especially compared to finding victory lane and stage wins as opposed to the Gibbs guys? And is there anything that stands out that you guys really need to work on before you hit the playoffs?
Yeah, I think for us, just having another year together under our belts, another year in the Toyota camp, certainly this year has been an improvement, a spot I think where we could get better. Last year we started out with a lot of new things and had to kind of learn our way early on in the season. And, we still had some good results through that time, but, definitely not at the level of confidence or consistency that we've had this year. So I think that's part of it, just, continue to build that relationship with all the people we work with, all our partners, and then just Cole and I and Jazzy and our team really just continuing to build on that notebook and that success that we've had the past few years. So it takes time to put together, the notebook and all these little things that we learn along the way that you can look back on a year ago or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and kind of still use those things as a direction. So that's been neat to be able to do that, to be with the same group of guys and continue to, I feel like, get better and grow together. So that's been a big part of all that. But, so it's been good. I mean, just, we're always looking at ways to improve and, just being together and learning together and growing seems to be a part of that.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You always have been sort of a calm guy, but it seems like over the last year or so you found a center to you in that I wonder at a track like Pocono, what's the art of racing Pocono, and how do you think a veteran like you, who's very calm and centered, it lends itself to a track like this and having success here?
Well, I mean, having fast cars is certainly the best place to start and figure out all the other things, because that's the hardest part to get. So, I mean, I have to give my team a lot of credit for helping me get in a good place and being a good mental, good state of mind, a good approach for each weekend, good confidence that's consistent. So the team's a big part of that. But, Pocono is such a rhythm racetrack, a comfort racetrack. It's a place where you go out there, you could win both races in 1 year, come back here the next year and go out there on a racetrack, and it takes you a few laps to find that rhythm, to find that comfort, because it's just such a hit your mark sensitive kind of place. And so even today we had power steering issues, we had brake issues, we only made 4 laps of practice, and it's like, as good as we were here last year, I felt like I was lost the first lap out there. So it's such a challenging track and so different than where we go each and every week that you got to have confidence in your team, and you got to have a fast race car. That's the number one thing.
Joseph Walken, frontstretch.com. What's the team morale like with you running well and Eric Jones beginning to turn the corner?
I think the team morale's good. Everybody's having a good time, enjoying themselves, and they work so hard that it's nice when it pays off. And I think that just continues to motivate the team to keep pushing and keep working. And when they see results in the effort they put in, it pushes them to go even harder. So we've got a great bunch from top to bottom, and they're doing a good job, and I think they're enjoying themselves as well. So that's always a good thing.
What's the biggest difference having 2 cars?
Honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot difference in having 2 cars. I say that's a good thing that I can say that it hasn't really changed a lot the way we race or approached racing, because we hired not a lot of new people over the winter, and bringing in a second team's a big deal. So they've done a good job of just all working together, kind of approaching racing and using the same ideals that our team did. And so, they're a good fit together, and that's kind of why it's been, not really a big change, which has been good.
Reed?
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. You're the series leader in playoff points with 18. You're also the championship leader. After 26 races, if you're still there, it's another 15 playoff points. Did you guys have this thing figured out before the season started?
We planned it all. We said this is exactly how we're going to do it, and here we are. I mean, I think everybody comes here with the same plan. Everybody wants to, it starts with being consistent, running up front each and every week, having fast race cars. We've been able to do that. So at the same time, we've been able to not make mistakes, be consistent, not have a lot of issues. I think our only really bad race was Talladega, which that's Talladega. So I think everybody sets out to be able to do this beginning of the season. I think this year with the stages and all the points that we knew were on the table, I think everybody looked at it and said, okay, how can we figure out how to get more points than everybody? So I think just a job well done by all of our team and all of our guys, and it's really gone better than we probably even imagined so far. So it's been fun. It's been a real treat to be consistently up front each and every week and leading laps, and I'm having a blast right now. So it's been fun.
It seems like it's taken some teams a little while to wake up to how important these points are going to be down the road.
I think they know how important they are. They've just been hard to get. So it's difficult. With the pit strategy, the way it can play out with the stages, and it changes. It's definitely changed the racing without a doubt, and it's been hard to kind of manage. Okay, how do I make sure I'm up front for the end of the race to try to get the overall win, yet not give up those playoff points throughout the race? So it's definitely been different, and I think each week and each racetrack is different. I think Pocono this weekend is going to be interesting because, I mean, you can pit here without going a lap down, almost like a road course, and there's going to be some wild strategies going on, and just depending on how the cautions play out, it could mix things up a whole lot. So we'll see how it plays out, and hopefully we get some more points.
Additional questions for Martin? We'll go to Robbie.
Robbie Mays, MRN. Martin, Richard Petty's 80th birthday coming up in a few weeks. I know he's very precious to our sport. And do you have any favorite memories or your first time you met him, something like that?
I don't have anything that's really over the top or sticks out, but just seeing him around the racetrack, you know, and what he means to the sport, and the fact that he's 80, he doesn't look a day over 60. You know, I mean, it's he's just an amazing person. He's fun to talk to, and you know, just such a huge part of the sport. So it's fun to see him around each and every weekend. And it's fun to talk to him. He's always got something funny to say. Always got a story. I don't know how he hasn't ran out of stories yet, but just an awesome guy. Really glad he's doing well and he's still hanging around here.
Go up front to Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net, PRN. Next week's Michigan. I came in a little late. If you have already talked about it, but you talked about going to Michigan next weekend.
I have not talked about Michigan yet, but yeah, looking forward to that. Another place where I have some good fishing holes. I'm serious. No, fishing just helps keep the stress level down, and you know, let me focus on driving and let the team focus on the cars. So Michigan should be interesting. I mean, last year we ran this lower downforce package there, so we have a little bit more history than most of the tracks we've been to this year. So, you know, we'll just see what it brings, but such a fast track and you know, definitely different than anywhere we go, so it'll be fun.
Well, Martin, before we let you go here, I'm going to call up Earl Krause here to the podium, and he has a special presentation for you.
Cool.
Oh, thank you very much, Matt. And Martin, we certainly appreciate you being here. Look forward to another great weekend of Pocono, your second home track.
Yeah, second or third. Straight up there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of the premier press organizations in our country, which I'm very proud to be a member of, is the Eastern Motorsport Press Association. We've been around for some 45 years now and going strong. And each year, through a vote of our membership, it is determined who the National Driver of the Year is. And a lot of it is based on Eastern racing and a driver that represents our East Coast. This past season, 2016, Martin Truex Jr. set a record for laps led and won the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. He continued to run strong throughout the season with victories in the Southern 500, success at Chicagoland, and a win at his other home track, Dover Raceway. And altogether had a wonderful season, establishing himself as a true contender for the Cup Championship year after year. So we like to, right now, in this very nice setting of Pocono Raceway, which is a home track for Martin Truex and his family, present him today with the 2016 Eastern Motorsport Press Association National Driver of the Year. And to make the official presentation, we'll turn it over to my announcing colleague here at Pocono, Vice President of the EMPA, Dino Oberto. Dino?
Thank you, Earl. And Martin, I'll tell you what, it was a great honor through all the membership to give you this award here. It's quite distinguished to have you as a part of this. For all you guys in the media, I'd like to point out that there is information on the EMPA, the Eastern Motorsport Press Association, at the back of the table. But at this time, it gives me proud pleasure to introduce Martin Truex Jr. as the Driver of the Year for EMPA year 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, so this is a pretty awesome trophy. I wish I could have got there in January to the banquet to receive it, but all in all, you know, definitely very proud of this. There's been some amazing names in racing that have won this award throughout the years, so definitely humbled and honored, and hopefully we'll be able to put together a good enough season that's better than last year and maybe take this thing home again. But thank you guys very much for bringing it here and presenting it to us, and thank you for all you do. And we'll hopefully bring another one of these back this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And guys, again, I want to remind everybody, the Eastern Motorsport Press Association, we have some of you with us here today. There is information on the back table there about what the organization is all about, and we'd love to have more of you on board with us. Thank you very much, and again, congratulations to Martin Truex, and thank you, Earl Kraus.
If I could have your attention here in the media center, we will continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability for Sunday's Exalta Pocono 400. And we're joined by Chris Buescher, driver of the number 37 Scott Product Chevrolet for JTG Doherty Racing. Now, Chris, the last time you were in here, the rain was pouring. It was coming down in buckets. Lightning was flashing. Thunder. It was pretty stormy around here, but you were also a winner of the race. Talk about just the emotions that went through that, and coming back here to Pocono where you had such a great historic moment in your career.
Yeah, we needed a John boat to get back to the hauler afterwards. The garage was about a foot deep, but we luckily I guess it all fell in between being in here and getting done. So we weren't necessarily in the rain, but yeah, it was pretty awesome to be able to get that win and everything play out the way it did. A big moment for us. Got us heading towards the chase for last season, and got us into the All-Star race this year to be able to participate there. So, a lot of great things came from it, and everybody keeps asking me how excited I am to get back to Pocono. And the problem is it's not not one of the places where we're as fast as some others, but it is a unique racetrack. I do love coming here. It's tough, and it's hard trying to find just a little bit of speed. When the corners, basically lead on these straightaways that are so long, it's one little mistake leads to 3-4 tenths at the end of the straightaway. So we gotta work hard to be consistent and get the balance rolling good. And so far with our Scott Product Chevrolet, we've been getting it headed in the right direction, and I think we're in good shape to go qualify here.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We're going to start up front with Jerry, and then we'll go to Zach.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. That's the weather forecast for Sunday.
It's a lot of sun and clear skies.
Yeah, you don't need rain to win these things, obviously. But here's the thing: you guys have kind of turned it around. You've shown what this team can do, and you talk about the advances on this season. I think we reflected on some of that at Hickory earlier.
Yeah, it's first of all, I'm sure Brandon's happy to look at that forecast as well. For this season, start with a completely new team with JTG Doherty Racing going to two teams. I don't think anybody showed up, really could show up to start work until after the new year. So it was very hectic trying to get everything rolling into the beginning of the season to get to Daytona. And then that West Coast swing is what's so difficult for a new team when you're trying to build up inventory and you're trying to create notebooks on different chassis numbers. And you find something out there, and you go out and one race, you got something that works pretty decent. You're sitting out there in Vegas like, hey, we need to try and implement this. And, well, you can't. The other two cars are already on their way, and there's no time. So it did create a little bit slower start than what would have been ideal. But we've definitely found some things through, since Martinsville that have started contributing to better speed. We've gotten a better understanding with Trent and I, with our entire team working together for the first time this season. A lot of them have never worked together at all, and with the exception of a handful being together before that. So, as smoothly as you could really ask it to go is what's happened. Been really happy with that. At the same time, they were expanding the shop with Wood Brothers relocating. So it is just a lot of chaotic mess early on, and they turned it into something that was very well organized, very well put together, and we've been able to show up the track and have better speed as we've gotten closer to the summer months here. We still got to work on it, and we still got to find little things here and there, and whether it's downforce, whether it's different chassis settings, different things we need to do with spring shock, whatever it is. I don't think we're way off, we just got to keep fine tuning and finding these little tidbits here and there that'll make us faster.
We'll go next to Zach, and then to Dustin, and then over to Dominic.
Zach Sterniola with the Pocono record. You touched on the fact that you weren't necessarily thrilled to be coming back here just because of the lack of speed and all that. But does Pocono kind of is it special for you now that this was where you got your first Cup Series win? And what are kind of the emotions when you got back into this facility?
Yeah, it's definitely special, and you know, I am always excited to come here because it is a fun racetrack. It's always more fun when you're sitting in, you know, P1 on the board. So we haven't gotten to that point yet, but you know, for me, it's been a love-hate relationship. So I've been fogged out here twice in a race car actually, and the first one was in an ARCA car, and I hated it after. I hated this place after that because we went back green, and we really shouldn't have. It was foggy already, and we went down turn 1. We passed for second, and we got underneath the leader coming off of 2, and they threw the yellow and eventually the checker because of fog. And I felt like we got robbed that day on the ARCA racing side. And so for me, it was I did not like this place for a long period of time. Obviously, Xfinity just now starting to come here. I did not have the chance to run an Xfinity car here, so a little bit limited on track time between that day and coming back in a Cup car. And you know, I think at the end of the day, I'll take a win in a Cup car over the ARCA car. I'll take that trade, and you know, made me a lot more excited to come back to this place every time. I can hear you. You know, to a certain extent, maybe. We good? You want me to keep going? Just keep rolling. You know, oh, you're good. The same age as a handful of them. You know, me and Ty obviously ran ARCA when we were the same age. You know, Austin being a little bit older, and then, you know, we've had the movement of these other kids that are way younger coming in and participating, and so yeah, a part of it, and it's nice to be there. And it's going to remain very challenging as the years go on, and I'm not getting any younger, and it seems like the younger kids keep showing up, and you know, I think you look at the feeder series, so you know, with ARCA, with the truck series, you know, K&N and Xfinity, you look at how well some of these kids are doing at the young age that they are. You know, it's only a matter of time before they find themselves in a competitive Cup ride and are able to be a part of that same talk. And so, you know, at some point it's going to become the normal. It won't really be a youth movement. It'll just be the field. And, you know, I think we've seen a lot of shakeups over the last couple of years. And, you know, we're hearing a lot more that are right on the horizon that'll be moving around here pretty shortly.
Go to Dominic, then to Lee.
Dominic Ottagona with theracingexperts.com. So at this point in the season, do you think you and your team can still point into the playoffs, or do you think it's going to take a win at this point to make the playoffs?
I think it's going to take a win. You know, I know, you know, consistency is a big part of it. Honestly, the stage points have played a much larger role than I expected them to at the beginning of the season. You know, I was really unsure of how exactly that was going to play out and how much emphasis everybody's going to place on, you know, trying to go out there and get those stage points. And I think, you know, they've added up rather quickly. So that's something that, you know, as we get better through a race, we've missed out on stage points, and so that we're only getting those final points at the end of a race. And so that is, you know, cost us some points. My super speedway record is no better this year than it was last year already. So that hurt us some points. But, you know, at this point, we're going to need to go out there and get a win. The best I can tell, and be able to get into the playoffs that way.
Go next to Lee.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Did you read the comments Dale Jr. had to say about you about looking at drivers in the future?
I have heard a little bit, yes.
I mean, if you you know, despite what Dustin said about you maybe overlooked, to get that kind of recognition from NASCAR's most popular driver has to say something about the progress that you've made over a short time.
Yeah, first off, I just want to tell him thank you for that. When he talks, our fans listen, and so that's pretty awesome to be talked about it in that manner. And I think he says like a dark horse, right? And so that kind of sums it all up, right? I mean, it's something that's not quite the most obvious, but it is an opportunity for us to be able to go out there and make a name and gain a fan following through the years here. As hopefully a really long tenure here in the Monster Energy Cup Series. So, we're going to keep working on that and get to the point where hopefully we can get talked about as a more mainstream, fan vote going forward.
Additional questions for Chris? Chris, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Make sure you wear your sunscreen. You don't need a jumbo.
Yeah,
today.
we're good to go now. Sunglasses.
If I can have your attention here in the Media Center, we will continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability for Sunday's Exalta Pocono 400. We're joined by Ryan Newman, driver of the number 31 Kalahari Resort Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. Ryan, a former winner at this track. Would you please just walk us through, Ryan, what it takes to really get around the tricky triangle?
Just obviously having a good balance in all three corners, and probably one of the biggest keys is no matter how good you get through those corners, you have to have the power to pull it down the straightaway. And it seems like at some point, some pit strategy, some fuel savings, and a little bit of luck has to come your way. But nevertheless, I've always enjoyed this racetrack. I enjoy the area, and especially now with Kalahari being built just up the street, it's a great place for kids and families to go and have some fun when the racetrack's not hot.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for questions. If you have a question for Ryan, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic too. We'll start with Zach, and then we'll go to John.
Zach Sterniola with the Pocono Record. You kind of touched on it just there that there's always fuel strategy involved here at Pocono. With the stage racing now and the way that these stages fall, how do you feel like that's going to affect the kind of how this race plays out?
It will, and I don't know how much. I don't know when, if it'll be the first stage, the second stage, the third stage, or all three. But, I think that, the bigger the racetrack, the more risk you are for not making it back to pit road. And we have this stretch in the summer between the two Poconos, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, and Sonoma, where we got big racetracks, lots of distance, and fuel mileage. Just talked about it quite a bit. And with the stages, I think that changes. I think it changes because of the size of the racetrack, how good your race car is, and the strategy that goes along with it. You put 4 tires on, and when you do it, you take a risk of doing it a little bit early, expecting a caution, or does the caution not come and you put yourself in a bad spot? So I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I mean, the pros and the cons of stages is, we get those guaranteed restarts, guaranteed bunch-ups, and therefore guaranteed yellows, which I don't particularly care for, but I do like stage racing, and I do like the way that it mixes up the strategy. Just never like to see a race go yellow.
Go next to John.
John Harville with ESPN Albuquerque. Ryan, how would you evaluate the first half of the regular season of the schedule?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Obviously Phoenix was huge for us to get that first win. We've had some decent runs, some top 5s and top 10s. Of late, we've had 2 top 10s that, to me, our performance did not meet that result. So we've got to pick it up. It's good to have good finishes, but I would actually feel better if we had a car that led more laps and finished 4th than a car that ran 15th to 17th all day and finished 4th. So I think there's a balance in there, and we have to keep working.
And how is your team, plus the other 2 RCR teams with Austin Dillon has the win also, how are you guys approaching like the final 13 races of the regular season entering the playoffs?
Well, I know how we are, and that's to do everything to the best of our ability and try to get those stage bonus points, get the regular season points that we can, and have whatever cushion we can have to start the playoffs and in each round of the playoffs, so that we have a better opportunity of racing for a championship in Homestead. That's ultimately what it's all about, but it still revolves around winning.
Additional questions for Ryan? We'll go to Holly here and then to Robbie.
Ryan, how much different is this going on and getting that win early in the season and knowing you're going to be in the playoffs versus, you know, when you got in on points and things like that? How does this change your team's strategy for the season?
Let me put it to you this way. I don't remember the last time I had a win and didn't have to worry about getting in on points. And again, there's still no guarantees. I don't see us having 17 winners in 26 races. It could happen, but I don't see it. And I think that it is nice to have that off of your mind, but I still feel that you have to have the mentality that you don't. You have to have the stubbornness and the racing mentality of you can't just say that we're in. I've seen guys the last few years that get that and they don't perform well in the first or second stage of the playoffs, and it costs them. So I think when you race for points, no matter if you win or you don't, it is good practice for becoming or being closer to becoming a champion.
We'll go to Robbie, then to Jerry.
Robbie Mays, MRN. Ryan, after we leave Pocono next week, we go to Michigan, wide open, 2-mile, fast racetrack. Your thoughts heading to Michigan? I know you have had success there in the past. What are your thoughts heading there next week?
Well, it was always a fun racetrack. It's been a bit of a challenge with the groove being a lot narrower and somewhat treacherous when you get out of that groove. So I hope that some of the homework that we've done, whether it's with VHT or Tire Dragons or just the age of the racetrack, is going to make it for better racing because it is a lot of fun when you can get 3 and 4 and 5 wide in the corners and get your car with some clean air on the nose to be able to make a pass. And we haven't had that in a few years since it's been repaved. And I think that if we can get back to that, then it'll be the Michigan that we all enjoyed. Instead of just some of us enjoying it.
Jerry Jordan, former Station Network and Kicking the Tires. When Austin won his race, Richard and he were talking about, and the assets, the things that he has put towards the team, everything you guys asked for, he tries to go out there and get. But he said that sometimes it's still y'all are almost like an underdog. Do you feel that you guys are a small team that is trying to overcome? But with two of you guys having a win, trying to get Paul in there as well, how do you feel the team is advancing and turning things around?
It's somewhat of a loaded question because I think if you look at us from a sponsorship standpoint, we probably are an unpublished underdog. But at the same time, I don't know that entirely matters when it comes to the race cars and the racetrack. Richard does a good job of giving us every tool that we need. It's not like we're missing any wrenches in the toolbox or when it comes to simulation, wind tunnel time, 7-post time, we have that. I mean, we have more tools probably than we have time to work on them, and we have a lot of people. I think it all matters it's all a matter of how you put everything together and use all your tools. It's like a toolbox, right? I mean, you don't use a hammer when you need to screw something in. You don't use a screwdriver when you need to chisel something out. You get the right tools for the right places at the right time, and that's the biggest challenge I think that most teams have now. If you look at the rules package, the tolerances that we have to meet, everybody's pretty much building the same race car. It's the finite details that are really making the big difference. The biggest one of those being under the hood, the rest of it being the aero side of it. So, I don't think that we're exactly where we want to be at this point in the season, but I do feel that we're in a good position, having two of our 3 cars, into the playoffs or potentially into the playoffs, however you want to say it, and just having a better year for sure than we did last year.
Also, you're an engineer. The rule change actually went into effect this week underneath behind the radiator fan. Can you talk about that? Does that affect you? Notice any of that?
As long as it's the same for everybody, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know that the rule change did occur, but in the end, I don't think it's a big deal. I wish we didn't have to sit up here and talk about silly things like those types of rule changes halfway through the season, but it is what it is. And you wouldn't get into those boxes if NASCAR didn't let you. It's not their fault. It's just sometimes you got to clean up what everybody's doing. And I wish we could talk about the racing versus that.
We'll go to Lee.
To kind of follow up on that, would you prefer that the changes are just made at the start of the season? I mean, you guys usually get the rules package at the end of summer. the off season to work on it. Would you prefer just to have it stay like that, or do you think that NASCAR kind of owes it to the garage to keep parity in there, and if they see something, they're going to make the rule across the board for
But this wasn't a change in parity. This was a change.
You know what I'm saying. I mean, this week.
I know what you're saying, but in the end, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, we're talking about a rules change that has something to do with everybody. And if you're gonna check a box off that we can't work in anymore, then what's the point, right? I mean, we need the ability to make an advantage or create an advantage over other teams. So, if we want to have every race car built exactly the same, then we need to have NASCAR start building them for us and just put decals on the doors.
But in addition to that, there were a lot of fans talking about change this week, and rather than talking about Jimmy's accomplishment or how well.
That's my point. I'd rather
Right.
just talk about what Jimmy did, or the crash in the last lap, or the oil dry on a racetrack. I mean, there's a lot of things to be talking about other than a rule change in the middle of the season. It's just silliness.
So should you think that if once you have the 2018 rule book, that should be kind of set in stone, and then
There are things I think that revolve around safety that are more important than rules that have an aero effect and how it affects maybe one manufacturer over another or one team over another. I think that's again silliness. Safety is at the first, and the rules should change for that. Whether it's a lug nut rule, we should be talking more about lug nuts and what we can do to secure a wheel on a hub so that the wheel doesn't fall off, whether it has any lug nuts on it or not. That makes more sense to talk about to me than an aero modification.
Additional questions for Ryan?
So if you guys want to type something up, I can just do a few things for you, and just as long as you give me credit at the bottom of the paragraph. It was more there. There was more there than I thought there was, and I think it was a matter of we all couldn't see it. I mean, white on white is still white, and it just you couldn't see it. And then when the 48 blew it up, the 42 blew it up 78, and then Ty hit it, and I was underneath Ty, and it was crazy. I mean, I think there was way more there than we ever realized.
Okay. Well, Ryan, thanks for taking the time to join us
Thank
today.
you.
Good luck this weekend.